AD has been running a cult, a Jim Jones People's Temples-like cult on YouTube for far too long, and it's a disgrace that he's been allowed to do this. This is what's coming up on this podcast, along with Kelley Avocados the Rzuceks. Kelley claims that Frankie was asking her for money, and she said this on Natasha Recliner's channel. And Natasha said, he asked for money because his dog was sick. He needed money for wood. I've never laughed so much in my life. What does Frankie need money for wood for? Before I get this podcast started, I want to thank all the people that gave me encouragement, that had commented under my last upload on Armchair Detective. I was overwhelmed by the comments I got, the encouragement that I got, the support, the wonderful kind words. I also got some hate from AD's sister wives, but that was expected. And I kept some of their comments up and I deleted others when they got too nasty. But the vast majority of your comments were just amazing. I did not expect to get that many comments. I was overwhelmed by the comments. I really was. My channel has over 60,000 views, and I'm not coming up with conspiracy theories. I'm not showing you any fancy drone footage. It's just little old me talking about topics that I think need to be discussed. And I'm really, really overwhelmed by the comments that you gave me the last time. And there's so much interest in this topic that I had to abandon Lori Vallow and come back to this topic once again. But I will get back to talking about her soon enough. But I'm just overwhelmed I got so much comment. I did not expect to get the reaction that I got from my last video at all. I knew that I would get a reaction, but not like the way that I did. I mean, the comments just kept flowing. And I really, really appreciate the love and support. But I just want to say this. I am not doing this for the Rzuceks. And I'm terrible at pronouncing their name. Please forgive me. I'm not doing it on their behalf. I'm not a spokesperson for them. I'm not really in contact with them. I have spoken to Frankie a few times, and he's been very nice to me. I'm not an advocate. And this has gotten bigger than just the Watts case now. This is somebody, AD, Armchair Detective, this is somebody who is coming on night after night on YouTube and lying his face off, conning people and scamming people out of their money, and spreading lies and misinformation. And so it's a lot bigger than just the Watts case for me now. And like I said, I really am not a spokesperson of the family. I'm not doing this on behalf of the family. In my few conversations with Frankie Jr., I do know that he really, really, he despises AD, and it's understandable. And he's just had enough. I know that because he's told me. I know that because of the things that he does. He's just had enough of AD. But I actually think that I'm more angry about AD than the Rzuceks are. I really do. If there's anyone that wants him off YouTube, it's me. I want him off YouTube more than anybody else. I can tell you that. I think what he does is very dangerous. I think he's toxic. I think he's malicious. I think he's vindictive. I think he's a gaslighter. He just has no soul whatsoever. None. Zero. He's a typical narcissist. And he love bombs, and then he discards. He spreads lies and misinformation. He gaslights. A lot of what he does is gaslighting. But for all those people who say that he's tanking, he still has a large viewership. The only victory when it comes to AD, the victory is not even exposing him anymore. The truth channels have done an amazing job of exposing him for the past 2 years and counting. The real victory is for him to be completely removed from YouTube. And that means every single one of the channels that he's opened is taken down. Because I tell you, if that happens, he is going to be completely and utterly lost. Okay? Because he won't have that streaming cash coming in anymore. So unless that happens, while he still remains on YouTube, there's no victory, okay? Because I hear people saying, oh, his viewership has gone down, or people are finding out who he really is. As long as he still remains on YouTube, he's winning. And that is the ultimate truth of the matter. That's the sad, unfortunate truth of the matter. While he's allowed to remain on YouTube and spread these lies, he's the one winning, no one else. Now, let me pause for a little bit and tell you this. There is a reason why I'm not on the what side, and there's a reason why I'm not on the R side either, the Rzuceks side. I'm not on any side. I am not on any team when it comes to me criticizing Armchair Detective. Both families, let's just say this, every family has their issues. There's no such thing as a perfect family. Every family has their issues. Every family has their secrets. Every family has their imperfections. I think the problem with this case is that a lot of people have wanted to take sides. They've brown-nosed either the Watts family or they've brown-nosed the Rzuceks family. And you can see how that usually doesn't end very well. You know, you had Miss Mensa really being very friendly with the Watts family and Kim Kaufman, and Critical K being friendly with the Watts family. And those relationships, those pretend buddy love bombing narcissistic relationships didn't really work out, or at least there were issues with those relationships. On the other side, conversely, I'm just listening to an interview that Kelley the Advocate, or as Ivor likes to call her, Kelley the Avocado. I'm listening to a conversation or an interview that Kelley the Avocado is doing. Sorry, the Advocate is doing. I'm so used to hearing her being called the Avocado that I accidentally called her the Avocado. And I've been wondering what happened to Kelley, because I remember quite a few months ago, she was talking about how she was an advocate, and I'm always suspicious when people call themselves advocates. But I've never had a problem with Kelley. I've never even spoken to her. I've never had any kind of conversation with her. I've never had interaction with her. I've heard some things about her. I've seen some of her videos, never had a problem with her. I might be doing a podcast on her one day, but it's not to bash her, and I'm not I don't go around just bashing people. That's not my intention. I do study human behavior. I do talk about human behavior, but I recognize that we as people, including myself, we all have our imperfections. So anyway, back to Kelley. She was very friendly with the Rzuceks, and she was talking about how she was an advocate. And she was, they were supposed to be working on something to do with Shanann's law. Let me clear my throat. Shanann's law, which is supposed to be something about to do with, you know, victims' rights and stopping the bashing and the degrading and defaming of dead deceased victims, something along those lines. I remember seeing Kelley on Mommy Ramblings and doing interviews and talking about how, you know, she had a lot of great sympathy for the Rzuceks and how she was in contact with them. And I always thought, you know, this isn't going to end well, because it just never does. Aligning yourself with either family, being on tag teams, it usually doesn't end well, because you can never fulfill completely what a family wants you to do or what a family wants you to convey of them. You can never fulfill it, because no one is perfect. We're always going to fall short of expectations. So when she was talking about advocating in this Shanann's law and how she was on YouTube speaking up for victims, and she was talking about how she didn't get any money for doing so, I always was kind of skeptical. And now it seems like Kelley, just as Critical K or Miss Mensa or whoever you want to call it, Just as they had a falling out with the Watts family, Kelley has had a falling out with the Rzuceks, and she's now speaking her truth, so to speak, and showing, just like Critical K did, showing messages that Frankie sent to her. I'm not really going to go into that, what Frankie was asking or what Frankie was saying, because I really don't want to do that. This is not my intention to make someone look bad or to... my sympathy has always been for the Rzuceks family. I would have every bit of sympathy for the Watts family if they hadn't tried to drag Shanann's name through the mud the way they have for the past few years. But there's no perfect family, and I'm on no team. My issue with AD is that he is a complete and utter scammer. He's not the only scammer on YouTube. He's not the only liar on YouTube. No one that's on YouTube is perfect. We all have egotistical traits. Some of us have narcissistic traits. A lot of us have a little bit of that in us, including myself. There's a lot of ego and a lot of narcissism and a lot of, talking ourselves up that goes on YouTube. And on social media. I mean, social media breeds egotism and narcissism. It just does, naturally. So that's why I've never been on anyone's team or side. I'm an independent thinker. I've got my own mind. It never ends well when you try and be buddy-buddy with one family or the other, because you're never going to be able to completely fulfill their expectations. And that's just life. What I can say is that with all the bad things that have surrounded this case, because I think that the Watts case has brought out some of the worst characteristics in people, some of the worst personality traits in people. And it's really highlighted that what we see on the surface is not necessarily what is below the surface. Just even like in the Watts marriage, on the surface, you have the beautiful wife, beautiful kids, the guy that goes out to work for his family, the beautiful house. And then when you start to just dig beyond the surface, you start to see all the cracks. It's the same way with how people behave in regard to the Watts case on YouTube. You start to see little by little, year after year, how friction builds up, how animosity builds up, how love-bombing relationships dissolve and they never really work out when people are trying to fulfill each other's ego, when people are trying to take, either each other's side or one side over the other. It never works out. But I think the worst of the Watts case is Armchair Detective. I really do. I independently think that he is the worst of what happened to the Watts case, because the amount of lies he's told, the false accusations, the way he tries to scam every cent out of people. And I'm not saying, like I said, I am not saying that the Rzuceks family are perfect and the Watts family are certainly not perfect. And the people that sit around and talk about the Watts case for hours, none of them are perfect. None of us are perfect, including myself. I'm far from perfect. I'm a badass girl. I'm a naughty girl. However, I believe that the worst of this case is Armchair Detective. He is the result of the worst of the Watts case. And he is a con artist. He's a scammer. He has no credibility. He's found a niche audience, a very large niche audience of mostly middle-aged women who buy into his lies. And cons and scams and frauds should not be allowed on YouTube. YouTube has a policy that you're not allowed to be frauding or scamming or trying to, siphon money out of people the way he's doing. Even with his book, why does he need people to pay him to write a book? Makes no sense whatsoever. So Armchair Detective needs to be removed from this platform above anybody else. He's not the only one. But above anyone else, he needs to be removed from this platform. And yes, none of us are perfect, but there are some people who are just devious, malicious, manipulating, gaslighting, narcissistic, egotistical to the core. And I just believe that Armchair is the epitome of all of that. Now, I believe that Kelley had every right to talk about her experiences with the Rzuceks and tell her side of the story, just like I believe the Rzuceks had every right to distance themselves from her because of what they thought she might be doing, or for what they stand for. They had every right. Both parties had every right to part ways with each other, and Kelley has every right to tell her side of the story, and the Rzuceks had every right to distance themselves. That's my opinion. But I do think there is a better way to go about doing things. And I think it's very obvious that Kelley decided that she was going to be quite malicious in the way she distanced herself. But at the same time, she felt, she felt that she was being put down, that they were slandering her name. And I understand that. I probably would feel the same way if I wasn't in her position. So I'm trying to be fair and balanced in my opinion, not taking sides once again. I have no beef with Kelley. I've never really had any conversation with her. She doesn't know who I am. I don't really know who she is. I'm just speaking about what I've heard and what I know. And another thing about true crime is I don't have any problem with people making money from true crime. You think all the people who took part in the OJ trial didn't make money from their books? You think all the people on Court TV or the Scott Reiches of the world and other people who are involved in true crime don't make money from it? Movies, books, all of these things generate money, generate cash. I have no problem with people making money from true crime as long as it's legitimate. But Alan Vinicum is just conning people. And if you actually Google his name, Alan Vinicum, you'll see a lot of unsavory things about him. I think that he cooked the books of his restaurants. And I think that he probably took the money and ran. That's what I think. Any money that the restaurant made, he took it and ran. Or he was not, he didn't pay taxes and stuff like that. I think that he's a very dodgy, unsavory character, and I think he's a narcissist. And there's nothing worse than somebody who uses hate speech against people like Nicole Kessinger and others to scam money out of people. He's built his channel on hate speech and inciting hatred. I'm no fan of Nicole Kessinger. I don't agree with her behavior, but I'm not going to sit here and judge her and say that she's a murderer when I haven't got any proof that she is. And there's nothing that she's done that I haven't done. I can tell you that. I'm no angel myself. There is absolutely no proof that the girl murdered anybody. There's absolutely no proof that she was involved in either the planning or the execution of the murder. Is Nicole Kessinger my favorite person? No, she's not. Far from it. Do I think she's a narcissist? Yes. Do I think she cared about what happened to his family? No. And I mean Chris's family. Do I believe she's self-absorbed and self-centered? Yes, I do. Do I believe she was trying to cover up her behavior? Yes, I do. But there is no evidence that the woman committed murder. And he's built his channel around inciting hatred of Nicole Kessinger, and that is wrong, in my opinion. Another thing I want to say is that I believe he is basically a cult figure on YouTube, because as time has gone on, I have people who support him and believe in him and drink his Kool-Aid. They're drinking his Kool-Aid, coming to my channel and trying to challenge me on the points that I've made about him. The fact of the matter is that he's a liar, he's a scammer, he incites hatred against the Rzuceks family, Nicole Kessinger, and even the people who worked very, very hard to bring Chris Watts to justice. And I think that that's wrong. And I think he needs to be removed. And it doesn't matter if he has 600 people in his chat, 500 people in his chat, one person in his chat. It doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is he still has an audience, and he's brainwashing people, and it's cult-like behavior. He needs to be removed from YouTube. And, you know, the American cop on YouTube, I can't remember his name. I really like his content. I think he seems like a fantastic guy. But I don't think an American cop, or an American ex-cop for that matter, is going to be able to bring him down. It's going to take a lot to bring AD down. And I do think, even though I'm not a particular fan of AD and his minions and his, you know, flying monkeys like Daniel Bishop, I do think Daniel Bishop has a point when he said that, you know, Frankie set up this GoFundMe page, you know, he raised 10,000 or however much he raised. He said he was going to use that money to sue AD, and nothing has happened. I'm not a fan of Daniel Bishop. I don't like how he attacks the family, but I do think he has a great point. It's a lot easier to say that you're going to bring someone down, that you're going to sue someone. It's very easy to say it, but it's very actually hard to actually get it done. But I think he needs to be removed from the platform for inciting hatred, for lying, for brainwashing, for being like a cult, for being a cult-like Jim Jones type figure. I just think that he's a disgrace to true crime, the true crime community, and I think he's a disgrace to humanity. That's my opinion.